This is the Montana Outdoor Podcast, brought to you in part by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. And by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, get ready for more fascinating topics and the most interesting people you will ever find in Montana's great outdoors. We offer new podcasts most every Saturday. You can get a link to these podcasts by going to our website, montanooutdoor.com, or by going to our Facebook page, or just send an email to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com and say send a link to my email. It's that simple. Now let's head out with your host, Downrigger Dale, and see what's going on in Montana's great outdoors.
Thank you very much, Manny, for that great introduction, as you do every week for us. I am Downrigger Dale with the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Boy, we talk about all kinds of great things that deal with Montana's outdoors on this podcast. I want to thank all of you for joining me again. It's been amazing how many of you keep sharing this podcast and growing this. This is growing huge over a pretty short amount of time. So thank you all for tuning in. A few reminders before I get to my guest, Ed Beal. One is, when you clicked on this podcast, just before you clicked on it, you saw a podcast description. In that description, at the bottom, you're going to find some links, and these are links to things that Ed and I are going to talk about. So just sit back and listen, and don't worry about having to write stuff down, because it's all there in that podcast description. You'll be able to click on it, get more information and all that. And then I'll also be telling you how you can get in touch with me, and if you've got questions for Ed, I'll be able to get information from him and get it back to you. So without further ado, let's talk to Ed Beal. Ed is owner of Capital Sports and Western in Helena, Montana. For those of you that live in Helena, there's no doubt you know that name. That's a legendary sporting goods store in Montana and in Helena. Those of you that maybe haven't got there yet, well, get over there and see them. They have some of the best advice and things that you can ever find. We'll learn more about that. Ed, tell us a bit about yourself, and we're going to talk specifically about the Private Land Public Wildlife Advisory Council, short version, the PLPW, through the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Governor Gianforte appointed you to that board position on the council, and there's a lot of just wonderful things that you guys, since you started in that council, that you guys have done and are getting going. But tell us a bit about yourself and maybe a little history about what you've been up to over your life.
Well, I've been avid outdoorsman since I was a kid. Now I'm an immigrant. I immigrated from Arizona to Montana in 1978 when I was 19 years old. And we've been coming up every year after baseball season was open, going up into the Beartooth, fishing and camping and hiking. And I always saw these wardens with these grizzly bears on their arms. And I thought, when I grow up, I'm moving to Montana. So that's what I did.
Well, there you go. Well, I'd say it's been here since 78. I think you definitely classify as a Montanan, without a doubt.
You know, it depends. If you ask my wife, who is a native of Red Lodge, and a lot of the reason why I came here, she was the comfort level of leaving my family. She doesn't even let me claim residency as a Montanan. How's that?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, she's kind of stingy.
Yeah, wow. She's tough.
But at any rate, so I started fishing and hunting and did more fishing in the first part. In 1985, we moved from Billings to Helena, and I became a part of the team at Capital Sports with the goal of ownership. And the founder of Capital Sports, Art Keeler from Lewistown, Montana, brought me in, And we worked out a program, and it's worked till this day. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. It's afforded me a lot of ways to be involved, obviously through the store with our great customers. Living here in the capital, sometimes when you're over near Winnett or maybe Ingomar, they look at that 5 plate and they go, ooh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
Yeah. So that made me start listening to different people around the state as I traveled around hunting for antelope, for birds, or whatever it was they were doing. And that's kind of what led me to the interest on PLPW.
Mm-hmm.
I had been asked to do some work on the License Advisory Council with Governor Bullock and Director Hagner. And that led to meeting a lot of people that are interested and concerned about Montana's funding of fish and wildlife management. And then that led to me looking into PLPW. I was first appointed to PLPW by Governor Bullock and now Governor Gianforte.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really been great. It's a great opportunity to listen to hunters and landowners and other interested people about the wildlife that we hold so highly in regard in Montana, and then the habitats and relationships that are critical for us to enjoy what we do here in this abundant treasure state.
Mm-hmm. Well, in Capital Sports there, obviously you guys talk to a lot of hunters and fishermen, and I am going to guess that the subject of land access comes up a lot. Here on this podcast, I get lots of emails from people that, and that's probably the number one topic there on the Montana Outdoor Radio Show that I do with the captain there. We hear this all the time. It is for sure one of the biggest concerns for hunters and fishermen is how do we get more access onto private lands and other federal lands and things like that. How do you see that going? Do you think it's improving? What are some of the goals that in the PLPW that you guys are trying to achieve in that regard?
We know our charge from the legislature. So we are created by the legislature and then appointed by the governor. We answer to the governor, the legislature, through the director of FWP. And access and the hunting programs and evaluating the access hunting program, like block management, as everybody is so fond of. That's a big part of what we do. Block is not the only access program, but it's certainly the biggest and the most effective to date. So those interactions with, like you said, our customers, friends, people that pop in, and being in the capital, you get involved with all the conservation groups because they're up here trying to impact things in a positive way. So I would say the state of access right now is kind of a double-edged sword because, what I've seen since 1978, excuse me, is it seems more challenging to find access. And when you look at the state and how it's changed over the last 30 or 40 years, and especially in the last 5 or 10 more rapidly, how you access is becoming the bigger part of the equation. Montana has 94 million acres of land. 54% of that is private. 34% is public. And then you've got areas that we don't count for hunting, and that would be reservations, federal, like Glacier Park, federal land, and then water.
Yep.
So collectively, you and I can access through either our own public land or private land agreements, and public lands that are accessed through agreements, we can actually access about 43% of all the lands in Montana through those programs, or the public access that we already enjoy on forest and BLM grounds. So it's kind of how we look at it, I think there's a lot different type of pressure today than there was years ago. It's kind of like how the attitudes are changing about everything. So I think we've got to kind of readdress how we do things as a hunter and how we access and how we appreciate that access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about the new program, and we're going to get into that here soon. As It's Up to Us, Protect the Hunt, is I think we're starting to get a better understanding that if you want access, it's a good idea to understand why that farmer or rancher needs to have a good feeling about you being on the land. I think overall, most farmers and ranchers, are hunters themselves. They understand that people, want to have as much access to find the best game they can, but they also have a lifelong asset that is dang hard to hang on to, and they want to protect it. I know I grew up on a cattle ranch in western Montana, and I talk about this story quite often. When my dad first got into ranching, before I even came along, he was pretty open to sharing his land and having people come on and hunt there. But as time went on, he got to the point where he just didn't allow any hunting other than, people that worked for him and did the haying and irrigation and all that. Other than that, he just wouldn't allow it anymore. And it was all a lot of, people, tromping through fences, leaving gates open, those kind of things. And so me going to high school, I got a lot of pressure from people saying, "Hey, how come your old man doesn't let us hunt up there?" Well, it's tough. So, what are some of the things that you guys have done to try to educate and show hunters that there's a way of getting that access, and a lot of it depends on how you approach the farmer and rancher and that. What are some of the things you've done there?
Well, I think the It's Up to Us campaign that FWP is heading, it talks about respecting access and protecting the hunt. That byline, respect access, protect the hunt, is trying to plant a seed of understanding that it's really up to each hunter to do their part, how they plan their hunt, how they execute their hunt, and how they interact with the relationships with landowners and other hunters. Trying to create that awareness that each individual hunter can make a heck of a difference on how successful we are in gaining access or creating other opportunity, and maintaining the opportunities that we currently enjoy. It's kind of like you start out saying with your dad, landowners are there. It's their business, it's their livelihood, it's their home.
Yeah.
It's their place. And they're not there just to foster our recreational enjoyment. The connection between hunters and agricultural producers really comes to wildlife management. Hunting is the tool that both addresses population and creates revenue to afford wildlife management. So that's where this relationship becomes so important, is everybody understanding that they're a needed part of this, and how do we do it the best together?
Mm-hmm.
So specifically this campaign, I think the communication and the education portion of FWP has worked very hard to be able to bring a message that's concise. And then as we go forward, fill in all the blanks with that information. Excuse me. So they're trying to put information up there for you to be able to plan your hunt, about access. How do you research it? Where do you look for information? How to go about it? Asking at the right time, not at 4 a.m. or
Right.
10 p.m. or not when they're baling hay and you can see there's total focus on the work they're doing. So that part of preparation is pretty important.
Yeah, if you go to the FWP website, and for those of you listening to this podcast, I'm going to have a link to this. You can, but if you go in the search bar and just type in "It's Up to Us" in the FWP website, it'll take you to that link too. But easiest way is just go in the podcast description here and click it. But it has really 5 main areas to this It's Up to Us, Protect the Hunt program. One that you were just talking about, Ed, is the plan ahead for access. And it says, be considerate, ask first, as you just said, not at 4 a.m. in the morning or right before your hunt. Plan ahead and think about it. And then it has a link to the interactive hunt planner. And that's a great tool so you can find out, the land that you'd like to access. You can get some information about who you want and who you need to talk to, all that. But do this all way ahead of time. I think that was one of my dad's biggest complaints is, people come banging on the door on opening day. And there's my mom trying to cook breakfast for ranch hands and do all this other stuff. And they're going, hey, we want to go hunting. Well, I don't have time to run my husband down and get him on the radio and find out where he's at. You need to come back.
Well, if you're going to do it excuse me, Dale, if you're going to do it at that time of day, you really should go in there and sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee and get to know them.
Yeah.
Instead of just up in there and say, hey, can I hunt? And run out.
Right. You think about, when you think about it, if somebody came and knocked on your door, for those of you that aren't in farming and ranching, and they knocked on your door and said, hey, can I go walk through your backyard a bit here? You'd probably want to know a little bit about them and who they are and what they're up to before you just say, yeah, just go on in and hang out in my backyard. Well, it's the same thing. And so often we get so excited about the, getting out there and hunting, we forget that, as you pointed out really well, Ed, this is their home and their business. So, think about it a little bit more. The other point that they make on that website is that respect the private property. Pick up trash, leave gates the way you found them, those kind of things. This is vital, and that was one of you talk to a lot of landowners. It's a huge thing. There is a video about hunter ethics, and you can click on that and learn about it. Tell us a bit about what you guys, when you were setting this program up and getting it going in conjunction with the FWP. What were some of the things you wanted to make sure you got across there?
Well, man, there is a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things that occurs the most, that's the most frustrating that we hear from landowners is trespass. And it's sneaky trespass, it's irritating trespass. It's kind of a belligerent trespass. So that's really one of the biggest things, is understanding where you're at. And if something does occur, how do you respond to his creating a bigger conflict? Respond with these folks with respect. They know where they are. Hopefully you know where you are.
Yeah.
And so half the gig is how your attitude is. And when you're dealing with maybe a little bit of initial conflict, it doesn't have to get escalated. You got to bring it down. Say, geez, I'm really sorry. I thought I was on the right place. Onyx Maps is a great tool, and that's what everybody's using. We still use BLM maps, Forest Service maps, and all that. But most people are using up maps. Well, when you find yourself in a little bit of a pickle because your location on your GPS or Onyx, figure out how to use that and bring it down a level, and it will go the right way. So attitude was one big one within that respective private property. Following the rules on a specific place. Every block management can have different rules. The block management programs are set up so the landlord can feel good about how people are accessing their place, whether they're type 1 or type 2 block management. Can you drive in? Can you walk in? Can you use an ATV? Can you use an e-bike? E-bikes are kind of the hot thing. But you can't use them everywhere. And hunters need to understand that when the FWP regional access people go out and create these agreements, they're trying to make it work for the landowner and the hunter.
Right.
So that was one of the areas where it's a lot of discussion about trespassing and then having an attitude that is like, hey, you got to let me argue. So we've got to change our attitude and be hospitable as we expect, a producer to be. So, a lot of what happened in the building of the This Up to Us campaign came from meetings, public meetings with PLPW, where we would have landowners come in and speak, hunting groups come in and speak, and talk about their concerns and the things that they'd like to see improved upon. That's where all this really came out of. The department, through their comment department, is putting it together in a good communicative way as it came out of those meetings and other meetings and all the other known. When you have a big shootout at a section of land that's got 60 elk in it and you have a mess, that creates a big communication piece about how we behave as hunters.
Ed, we're going to take a quick break here and check in with one of our sponsors. But when we come back, I want you to talk a bit about, we've discussed a lot about the input that you got from landowners when you're putting this together, but you guys also got input from hunters, and maybe talk a bit about some of the things that hunters were telling you about gaining more access and that. We'll talk about that when we come back right after this. It just seems like yesterday we were sitting in the heat going, ooh, this is a hot summer. What are we going to do? And we're worried about forest fires and all that. But now, all of a sudden, you feel that little tinge in the air, the crispness, and it won't be long, folks. The snow is going to fly. This is the time. If you've ever thought about getting a snowplow so you can get that driveway of yours plowed, or let's say you own a business. A lot of you need to plow that out. You can save a ton of money plowing it yourself. And I kind of think it's fun. I enjoy doing it. But the reason I'm talking about all this is Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer is your Boss snowplow dealer. And Boss snowplows, I think, has just now taken it to a whole another level. They are the snowplow that you want to have. They can do so many different things. And the great thing about Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer is they have a full service department. They can install it. They can take you through it, show you how to operate your Boss snowplow. They can help you get financing. They have the parts. They have everything. This isn't something where, you get a snowplow and then you have problems with it or whatever, and the people that sold it to you, that's all they do is sell it. They don't know anything. Not with Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They not only do they carry the best snowplowers you can get, Boss snowplows, but they do everything from helping you pick the right one all the way through to the service after sale and all that. So get a hold of my friends at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Now, you can go see them in person in Missoula, Montana, 5680 Expressway in Missoula. Also, you can, of course, give them a call. They'd love to talk to you there. Their phone number, 406-549-4243. Or one of my favorite ways to take a look at everything they have is just go online, rmtte.com, rmtte.com, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Be ready for winter this year with a Boss snowplow and check out all their inventory and everything else. You're going to like dealing with these folks. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. We're back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. I'm with Ed Beal. We're talking about the It's Up to Us, Respect Access, Protect the Hunt. It's a campaign that the FWP put together with the folks that are on the, and let me get this right here. It's the PLPW, which is the Private Land Public Wildlife Advisory Council, a council that was put together, mainly started by the legislature, and the governor then picks people to be on that council and help work with the FWP to put this together. And Ed Beal is one of the folks that is part of this program, was appointed in 2021 by Governor Gianforte, but he's been working with the FWP for quite a while, even before the Gianforte administration was involved. Ed, we've been talking a bit about, when this council got together and said, okay, let's put something together that we can help improve these relations with landowners and hunters, get more access out there. And you guys talked to a lot of landowners, but you also talked to hunters. What were some of the comments and things that you were hearing? You don't have to get, precise about what someone said, but what are some of the things you heard from hunters?
So let me go back 1 second,
Sure.
Dale, with the creation of PLPW. It began in '95 under Governor Roscoe, and who created the council was landowners and hunters and some of the conservation groups at that time.
Wow, so it went back that far.
Oh yeah, they were trying to figure out how to come together in this effort to hunt and conserve and access, and so they really formulated the beginning of this. It sort of started before it really started with some landowners that were already allowing access, but trying to be more guided in the opportunity. So that really is the genesis of it. The legislature did draft the wording and the creation of the council, but it was combined effort way back then with people on the hunting public side and the ag production landowner side. So it goes way back. Yep.
Okay.
So from hunters, it's always about how do we have more access. And then sometimes it's about locked gates where they shouldn't be. I would say those two are the biggest.
Yeah, and one thing for you hunters that are listening, when Ed and I are talking about this, we're not saying all hunters are jerks, not by any stretch of the imagination. Most of the hunters are great people who just legitimately want to know, okay, I'm willing to work with people. How do I do that? So I want to make sure we point that out, that it's not all just a bunch of people banging on doors at 4 a.m. I mean, you guys legitimately set out to say, okay, how do we make sure that everybody understands each other? Were there things that you were surprised at that landowners didn't really understand about hunters or about access? Was there any surprises there at all?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. That landowners, boy, I think it kind of goes, well, as I said about why I started into this, I represent the sportsman side of it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I'm on the council to speak that voice. But what I hear a lot troubles me because a small percentage of hunters mess up the pie.
Right. Yeah.
As you said, the vast majority follow the rules, are very respectful, love their hunts, and really appreciate the landowners that they know in their hunting area. So let me just say that. But landowners, I think they're maybe surprised by the quick show up and then I'm gone. You know, they're there all day long working, and it's their livelihood, and then we pop in. So I think as life has gotten faster and people hunt faster, I think that's kind of the new sort of surprise. Maybe it used to be a little more relational. And I hear a little bit, the council here, sometimes when you create a program like block management, you separate the hunter from the landowner a little bit because you just go up to the sign-in box, sign in, get a map, and go. Now, a number of landowners like it that way.
Sure.
And then some still want to know who's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might be the one thing that is a little bit unaware right at this moment, and becoming more aware is we've disconnected a little bit because of that type of ease of access.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at a type 2, they make a reservation, or you go see the landowner for permit for access.
Right, on the type 2 of the block management. But, you know, that's a good point, Ed, and I wonder if technology might have had something to do with that too, because after a while you're looking at your onX maps and the landowner starts to become just a dot on a screen.
Yeah.
And they're a lot more than a dot on a screen. So, yeah, I think that's a good point for people to consider is, you know, this isn't I mean, these are real people, and we all need to understand, you know, what we're doing. So another point that you guys have in the program is practice safe hunting. Know your target, take the time to think through the situation, don't rush it. And this one really hits home to me because that was probably the biggest thing, and it was a big thing that caused my dad to say, yep, no more hunting on our ranch, is one of our cows got shot. And it was a mistake. It was one of those typical things. A hunter wasn't knowing their target and beyond, and that just, and it was unfortunate because Dad then just, and you said it so well that, you know, a few bad apples spoil this. Is Dad, you know, obviously he was really ticked off, but he started looking at, well, all hunters are that way. They're just not safe. They just pull the trigger. It was one guy, but that one guy ruined it for a bunch of acres up 9 Mile.
It's kind of like this. There was really well-run block in eastern Montana, and I was up there. I know the country, and when it rains hard, you get big, sloppy mud clay.
Oh, boy, yeah.
And so this block closes down when that happens. Well, we almost lost that block management area because one individual went by the close sign on that road and went in there and sunk his vehicle
up
to the frame and made a heck of a mess. We I'd say we, FWP access coordinators, worked hard to not lose that block. And then they had to arrange more guidance to the hunters to keep it in the programming. It's a big chunk of ground and really good hunting. So that's just one vehicle.
Yeah.
And a highly used block management area. That's kind of the point. And that, that gets back to us. I think they have it under turn-in poachers on the It's Up to Us program. But there aren't enough wardens or personnel in the field always, considering how big Montana is.
Right.
So if we can be those guys, kind of like neighborhood watch, we can help each other do the right thing. Calling people out and saying, hey, you're really not supposed to be driving up that road right now.
Right.
I wouldn't go.
That's a great point. I did a podcast here not too long ago with a warden, Sergeant Aaron Berg, and he talked about that there's like 147,000 square acres out there for less than 80 wardens to try to cover. And so he talked about, using Tipmont and any way possible that when you see something, point it out, because it does affect you. It's not just that guy that's messing up. He's messing your deal up. So I think you really hit it on the head there. That has got to be one of your things. And when a landowner realizes that it's another hunter that saved his fence from getting knocked down or a gate being left open, all of a sudden they change their attitude of, okay, these hunters are watching out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky for us because we're out there to enjoy it. You get 6 hours away from Helena and it rains like that, 2 inches of rain.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm still going hunting.
Yeah.
Well, you might have to rethink where and how, and be ready to get 6 inches of mud packed under your boots in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do what you want to do, and everybody knows it. Now once you're in there and it rains 2 inches and you got to get out, that's a whole nother problem.
Right.
But so sometimes you can't help it, but every time you can, you need to be conscientious about what you're doing as a hunter.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things that Warden Berg pointed out was, he said, here's a scenario that happens quite often, way more than you would think, is you shoot an animal, maybe the shot wasn't as clean as you would have liked it. Now that animal goes over the fence, he's on private property, you are on public ground hunting, but now he drops on private property. Well, it's only going to take me a few minutes just to hop the fence and go move it. And he said, don't do that. Go to the rancher or farmer and say, hey, I wounded an animal. He's dropped and he's dead on your land. Would you mind if I just go get it out of there? He said that goes so long. That's one that is a very common thing that people think, oh, well, it's only going to take a few minutes. Really important to do.
That's definitely a biggie. And it's much better to get permission first than trying to beg forgiveness as you're getting excited for hunting without permission.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like you just pointed out, that's where all of a sudden here's a great piece of land that's been on the block management program that poof is gone. So
yep.
Yeah, good point there. And so turning in not just the poachers, obviously that's a big one, but also just turning in those folks that aren't respecting it. And the last one is gratitude. Access improves when landowners are respected and hunters are grateful for the access provided. Everybody gets excited, but stopping and saying thank you, or driving by when you're done and saying, just letting you know I'm out of there and thanks a lot.
Yep.
You've probably heard that one a lot, haven't you?
Oh boy, they definitely appreciate it. As a hunter, man, we're out there doing what we want to do. We've got a great place to hunt. How many weeks do we get to hunt? How many months? So we got it made as far as hunters go in this country. There's no better place to be than Montana.
Yeah.
So we should be happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to get sour just because, the elk are in the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, having an attitude of appreciation, being grateful for the opportunity to be out there, whether you're on public land or private land on a program, that's just, I can't imagine hunting without that feeling. I think it leads to better success anyway,
Yeah.
as far as the harvest.
Well, and another thing that a lot of hunters don't realize, but it is very well respected by landowners, is, and I'll use the example. A friend of mine, he hunts on some of the places where, people have just dreamed, oh, I would love to be able to get on that piece of ground, but they only let them. How do you get on there? Well, he told me, I went and offered to help them during their branding season. Oh, and so there's nothing wrong with that, of saying, stopping by way ahead of time and saying, this summer, if something comes up and you need a few extra hands, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out if I can have a little access here. Nothing wrong with that, right?
Oh boy. We some of my hunting buddies, we were in northwestern Montana, archery elk hunter, and their family allowed us to go up this mountain area on their property and off their property. We walked, you couldn't drive up there. We walked and we found great hunting, and man, we hunted so hard for like 5 days. We were exhausted, and we had a Friday open. So we go down to them and said, hey, tomorrow we're not going to hunt. We want to just help you do whatever you want us to do tomorrow. Well, that day we got up early and we put hay panels around all their stacks in the valley.
Wow.
And that guy said to us, you got what my wife and I would take all of our weekends to do for the next month in one day. And then they fed us like a Thanksgiving feast.
Wow.
So that began a long friendship. And they have block ownership too, so it's kind of a mixed deal. But yeah, it was a joy for us. We've gone back and pulled fence and made fence. Yeah, I guess we need to go do that again. Now we're getting older, so it's not quite as easy.
Yeah, but that those are things that a lot of hunters may not even think about. That, boy, if you want that access, you do a little work. You're going to get some great access, and you will be appreciated. That hunter's going to be happy to see you show up, because like you just said, you start a long-term relationship. You're buddies with those people now,
Yeah.
Well, Ed, we're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, I wanted you to talk a bit about, you volunteer your time so much for all these different programs and helping the FWP, but I want to talk to you a bit about what your store and other stores are doing now that I think is fantastic, and just pointing out that it's those locally owned sporting goods stores that really know where access is, where good hunting, good fishing, great advice. It's a neat program that the Montana Outdoor Radio Show we got going with you, and it's that Montana approved program. So I want you to talk a bit about that too when we come back right after this. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. You folks really make the difference here for us by tuning in. But we could not do what we do at all without great sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Now, let me kind of fill you in on what's going on there with everybody. They have so many great things. For example, they have extraordinary flooring lines. Now, a lot of their flooring is made right there. They have this huge lumber yard full of all kinds of stuff. You just got to go see it in Missoula. You can go online and take a look at all the different flooring and that. But John and Corey and the rest of the gang, Superior Hardwoods, they've been in business since 1977. You don't stay in business that long by not doing it right. Go online to superior-hardwoods.com, and you can even read the reviews from everybody. You'll get a feel that these guys really know what they're doing. They strive so hard to make sure their customers are satisfied and get what they want. So back to the flooring. Go take a look at all the different things that they can do at Superior Hardwoods. Everything from flooring that will just blow you away, and that I guarantee they have flooring in there with woods you've probably never even seen before. Then you can even go into things that can accent that. You have got to see the alder molding they have there. Unbelievable. The list goes on and on. So go to Superior Hardwoods. That's superior-hardwoods.com. Take a look at what they've got going on there online. Then you have questions. Easy. Just give them a call, 406-251-2272. Or if you want, and I think you'll love going to the showroom, it's at 5120 Highway 93 South there in Missoula. I have just talked to so many people that go, you were talking on your podcast about these guys. Well, then we went, and you weren't exaggerating, Downrigger. I mean, this place is amazing, and they know so much about it. As we like to put it, they will guide you through the woods at Superior Hardwoods of Montana. You got to go see them. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. That's superior-hardwoods.com. Oh, you're going to like these folks. You're going to love the way your house is going to look when they get done with it. Go see them. And we are back here on the Montana Outdoor Radio Show. Ed Beal with Capital Sports is with us. Great sporting goods store right there in Helena. And Ed, one, I want to thank you very much for being on the program and for doing what you do with the FWP on the It's Up to Us program that I think is going to go a long ways in getting more access. But being part of the Private Land Public Wildlife Advisory Council, I know that takes a lot of your time, but I really do appreciate it. And I think one of the reasons likely that you were chosen for that, not just because you hunt and all that a lot, but you come in contact with hunters and fishermen every day in the business you're in at Capital Sports. And one of the things when the captain and I got to talking about how do we create a program that can really point out the importance of the locally owned sporting goods store. In today's world, everybody wants a deal and they want this and this, but deep down, what you really want to know is where's the game at? Where's the fish at? What's the best lure to use? Or, hey, have you heard about this ammunition? Is it any good or is it better than that? That's something that you guys have done, well, way before you even became the owner of your store. Talk a bit about what you guys are doing now. If you guys aren't familiar with it, this is Capital Sports is involved along with Three Bears and Butte. Red Rock Sporting Goods, they're over in Miles City is involved. In Livingston, it's Yellowstone Sporting Goods. Snappy's and Kalispell's involved. D&G Sports and Western over in Glasgow, and the Sports Center in Lewistown, Montana. What intrigued you about that program, and what made you say, yeah, I want to get involved too?
Well, all those stores, I know all those people. We're members of a group called Sports Inc., the buying association in the U.S. We have members in every state in America, and we got a couple of Canadian members. Mm-hmm. We gather together on the first side about purchasing power. I can tell you we can buy ammo as cheap as anybody can buy ammo. We get national programs, so we have that power to be able to buy effectively and offer you a fair price. we tend all to go toward higher quality product, and offer that product because when we get out and use it, we go, well, I need that pair of Canatrack boots. It helps me get through the arc and my legs feel better, my knees feel better, my ankles feel better. That's just one example of a product, but whether it's a boot or, like we carry Fit Tackle, that's a local tackle.
Yeah.
Yep. Marabou jigs. Yeah. We look for these little things that are our secret for more success in the field, whether you're fishing and hunting. And I know all those stores, they do the same thing. They try really hard to do that. We talk to each other at the national shows and kind of collaborate on little secrets or things that are better and share that information. And when you look at our staff, I mean, we hire people they're going to live in Helena. They're not going to transfer from one state to another, They live in Helena. They live in Livingston. They live in Red Rock. I mean, I know CD really well. I know he knows his market. He's a lot meaner than me, but no, I know all these guys. And they work really hard to offer quality product at a fair price and then be able to help people get into the field, be successful, and enjoy what they're doing. My partner and I here, or we talk about, if you can't be out fishing, you can't be out hunting. The next best thing is talking about fishing and hunting. Right. And the reel, the cartridge, whatever works really good. So we live it and we hire people that live it. And that's kind of our, I think, hook we're going to hang our hat on. We really want to have people know what they're doing.
I hate to pick on other places, but a friend of mine gave me a great example, and it really shows what is the main difference between what you and these other stores we just mentioned do. And he went into one of the big national chain stores, and he was looking at these two sets of hunting boots, and they were kind of similar, but one was quite a bit more than the other. And it really ticked him off because he finally found somebody that could help him. He said, look, I want to understand what's the difference between this pair of boots and the other? Cause it's, they look a little bit the same, but what would be the main difference between them? And the gal looked at him and said, well, that pair's cheaper than the other ones. And, obviously he knew that. So in other words, she didn't know any difference of it. And he said, that's it. I'm never going into those places again, because when you go into, like you were saying, into a store like yours, the person you're talking to, they use that product. They go out and do that. They can say, well, tell me, what kind of hunting are you doing? Where are you going? Okay, well, that pair would probably be better for you than that pair. And that's all people want.
Yep.
So I'm really glad that you guys have got together, because like you say, now you guys are getting the price points that, the bigger guys can get too.
Our group was founded in 1965 by Don Thowell up in Lewistown. And I don't think he could have ever envisioned how large it could become. I believe we're the strongest group in the country, and collectively we're stronger than a number of the large chains in terms of total volume of dollars done in the U.S. So I know we're good. We do tend to operate with a different structure. So we try to be really competitive as much as possible in the wage rules and all that. So offer our people, like one of the best things we offer our staff is lifestyle. We try to accommodate people's need to go fishing or hunting. And have some flexibility with schedules when those things happen. And we've got a ski shop, and when it snows really good, like it's going to here this week, the hills aren't open yet, but when it snows really well on a Thursday at the middle of the week, you got to let your ski guys go skiing.
Yeah, because they do it too. Yeah, exactly.
So Thursday when it snows, we're going to probably have some people vanish. from the store for a day to have some tracking.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I really got into snow skiing, and I used to when we'd get a big bunch of powder. Suddenly, I didn't feel so good. I was kind of sick and probably wasn't gonna be able to get into work. So we all know how that goes. But the way you find these stores, for those of you that are wondering, and I'll put a link to the Montana Approved program too, so you guys can take a look at it. But for those of you listening here, but just look for that sticker on their window, and it says Montana Approved, and those are the stores we talk about on the radio show. If you listen to the Montana Outdoor Radio Show, you hear us talk about these sporting goods stores all the time, and we do it for a reason. They know what the heck they're doing, and like you say, it's fun to talk about it. You get into these places and people know. It's nice to be able to go talk to somebody and ask them those questions, and they can give you an honest, legitimate answer to your question.
Yeah, the other
That's
day,
nice to have.
One of my favorite customers was in, and I got to thinking, man, you've been here a long time. And I said that to him, and he goes, well, it kind of stuck. He's a person that traveled around the world a lot. Well, I don't know. He's been here like 20 years plus. And I said, why did you decide to stick around? And he says, well, do you remember I wanted to go bird hunting? And you went over to the Forest Service map, and I showed him a few places. The hard thing is not to give away everybody's secret, right?
Yeah.
Where are all the elk? They're on Elk Ridge or in Rock Creek or wherever, But I gave him a couple places that hold blue grouse. People know about it. And he went up and got a few blue grouse. And then he came back and he said, I need some different boots. My boots are killing me. And I said, you're trying on the wrong size. Let me size you. So I sized him out and discovered that he's trying on 11s and he needed a 13 or whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he said those two things connected him to our store.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, but it's common sense. And unfortunately, as time has gone on in a lot of industries, common sense went out the window. But it hasn't in stores like yours. It's still just good old-fashioned common sense and thinking through. But you thought of that because you go out bird hunt too, and that's the big difference, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ed, I want to thank you for spending so much time with me today and talking about everything from what we just chatted about to the It's Up to Us campaign on Montana Outdoor. And tell us where your store's located so people that are listening, when they go through Helena, they can stop in and say hi to you.
Well, if you're going through Helena, you can't miss it. But if you're on Highway 12, we're at the famous Malfunction Junction intersection in Helena. So we're right in the middle of town. Been in the same place since 1970, and we're going to stay in the same place, I think, as long as I'm around here. I do want to give you a parting shot. So on FWP's website, there's an old program that I recommend taking, and it's called the Landowner Stewardship Course. They are working on updating it. Nonetheless, you get a free hat from FWP by taking it, and it kind of goes through some of the things we talked about today, about hunting and the relationship we have with landowners.
Yeah, I'm going to put that that link will be on your podcast description as well, folks. And it's a big yellow button that says "Take the test." Do that. In fact, when we get done here, I'm going to give it a try. I'll let you know how I did on the test here. But I think that's a great one because that really gives you an idea of what you need to know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's
all
a
right.
little old, but it's worth taking.
Good deal. All right, Ed, thank you so much. And thanks for, being a supporter of our program and what you do. It means a lot to all of us. And together, as sportsmen, if we all stick together and kind of listen off of each other, we're going to make it better and get us all more access.
Yep, we all believe it.
Thanks for joining me, Ed.
Thank you, Dale.
Ed Beal, he's with Capital Sports and Western, but also has really been instrumental in helping us get more access out there. If you want some more information, as I said, the links are down there. If you have any questions for Ed, just shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that Ed gets any of your questions answered for you. Until then, folks, be safe out there. Have fun. Remember, respect the landowner. Ask for permission. I'll see you next time right here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Montana Outdoor Podcast. It has been brought to you in part by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. So what did you think of today's podcast? Send your questions and comments to Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com. We should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, we will see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.